Okay, go ahead.
All right. So can everyone see that?
Popcorn sounds good right now.
So again, my name is Francesca. I am co-founder and owner of New Food. We're a vegan snack food company based in Denver. We started in 2017. It's my partner and I. We were both professional snowboarders and vegan, and pretty much all we were eating all the time was protein bars, and we were super sick of it. So nutritional yeast, if any of you have heard of it, is a super prominent, almost like seasoning in the vegan vegetarian world because it's super high in protein and B vitamins. So we would, take handfuls of that and put it on plain popcorn, and we loved it so much, and our friends started eating it and they loved it. So we kind of just decided to start a company. So we started with one flavor. It's called Nooch, which is short for nutritional yeast. And when we were living up in the mountains still snowboarding, we started the company, moved down to Denver, got everything going with farmers markets and retailers and things like that. So we currently have 10 retail locations in Colorado. We have a handful of locations out of state as well. We sell online. All of our snacks are plant-based, obviously. So our products all plant-based, soy-free, nut-free, gluten-free. We have 3 different flavors of popcorn: churro, which is a cinnamon sugar; kettle curry is a sweet yellow curry; and then nooch is the nutritional yeast. All of these flavors have added pea protein in them, and they have other things like safflower oil, flax oil, so really healthy stuff. And we always try and incorporate protein, as that's like a big thing for us. And then we also sell plant-based queso. So most of the vegan quesos have cashews in them. Ours is nut-free. So it's literally just carrots, potatoes, tomato, jalapeno, and spices. So super healthy, and in my opinion, our bestseller and a real crowd pleaser. So our sales they tripled in 2019, which was great. Again, with COVID, it's been a little tough. So what we are asking for is kind of advice on if we should get, a big investment, which would be 50 to 75K, and where we get it, and then help finding a co-manufacturer. So we've gotten responses from, Whole Foods, Sprouts, natural grocers, that kind of thing, that in order to get in there, we need a co-manufacturer because our prices are high, because we can't buy everything in bulk like that. Our prices are high, and we make everything by hand in our commercial kitchen. So obviously it takes us a lot of time. We do all of our own like hand labeling. We make all the spices by hand. We do everything by hand ourselves. So it takes a lot of time. And then the co-manufacturing would also give us a longer shelf life just with the equipment that they have that we don't have access to. And obviously that would give us better packaging, be able to do the nutrition labels, which we do have nutrition facts, but it's too expensive for us to redo all of our labeling and put those on there. So that's another hindrance. So we're kind of just stuck because we've talked to a number of potential co-manufacturers, and the issue is, their minimums are huge. So it's like a, 50K minimum order for one flavor. So we are not there yet, right? We don't have a big order from Whole Foods. We don't have a big order from any retail location to kind of give us collateral. So we're just kind of stuck in like a merry-go-round of how to get one without having the other. And that's pretty much it.
That is the story that I've heard for the last 30 years of my career. Not alone.
Yeah.
Can I jump in? Does anybody want to say anything here?
No, you can jump in, Wendy. Go ahead.
Definitely jump in. Go for it.
Yep.
It's interesting, right? It's always the chicken and the egg, or the horse and the cart, So one of the things that I totally agree, pricing architecture is the most important thing that you can do as a company. There's, a little background of me. I've been doing this for almost 30 years. Launched Silk Soy Milk in 96. And, I've come from successful places. I've been at Boulder Brands for a long time. And what we're doing today is working with manufacturers that are doing anywhere from 800,000 to close to 70 million. But inevitably, every single manufacturer, that we're working with right now, we kind of get in, and the first thing that we kind of do in our finance team is start digging in on what are your margins, how are you going to get to a price point. You're competing against like on a stand, even though your ingredients may be different, you know your competition. And then when I think the biggest thing that just stuck out to me was, looking for $50,000 or $75,000. The reality is you should be looking for $3 to $5 million. Because that's what it's going to take to actually launch a brand, to really get in there, get into your co-packers, to buy packaging, to hold packaging and ingredients, and then really to go to back to those customers that you've talked to, whether it be Whole Foods or Sprouts or Natural Grocers or any one of those. You're going to have to pay a broker. You're going to have to get a field sales team. You're going to not make a dime for probably 2 to 3 years. So that's why I say go big, because you're going to need that money. And with COVID today, sorry, I have a new puppy. With COVID today, it seems like our, all of our monies that are out there, everybody's a little bit shy. I do have a lot of contacts with, with people with capital companies that I could definitely introduce you to. Be happy to do that. We work with several at our company. But I think the biggest thing for you, yes, I don't know who you've spoken to around here regionally for co-packing, and what kind of fills you want to do. Are you going to stick with glass jars? Glass is heavy. Freight is crazy right now. If we look at freight in the last probably 2 years, it's gone up probably 20-30%. So you might want to be considerate of, is it glass? Is it a PBA plastic? I mean, that's also going to go back to your co-manufacturing, and that might be one of your decisions that you're going to be looking at of how do you want to present? Where do you want this to live? Is it going to be in the cheese aisle? Is it going to be kind of with the hummuses and the other, salsa condiments out there? And then, what sets you apart from everybody else? And I think, sometimes when you get into these predicaments, and they're all challenges and doable. Do you kind of look at yourself and say, maybe like, I'm going to focus either on a region, or I'm going to focus on the Western United States, and figure out how to scale my business with being cautious with my dollars? I would kind of look at that from, there's some AI companies out there. Placer comes to mind, that you can kind of go in and identify where that vegan shopper is, by a marketplace. That might be interesting to take a look at. Ethan at Placer's got some really cool stuff, and he might be willing to just shoot you some information, that would help you identify that. But I would think, look at where honest sales, if you can get a spin snapshot, and see what Spins is showing in that vegan aisle would be another great thing. And I'm just talking cheese right at the moment. I haven't even started on the popcorn. But I will say on popcorn, I launched Earth Balance vegan popcorn when I was at Boulder Brands.
Wow.
Well understand where you're at today in that. But I think for queso is a hard one. Shelf life's going to really matter to you, because you've got to figure out, speaking as a salesperson, but I understand ops and marketing and stuff like that. I mean, we can get it on the shelf. How are we going to get it off? Right. So, and how are you going to touch those consumers? And do you have a good marketing company that can kind of get some social geo-targeting around those stores that you want to get into? I don't know if you have approached or if you belong to Naturally Boulder.
Yeah, we were a part of it for a few years.
Yeah. Were you able to get into a pitch slam?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. It was amazing to watch. It was so informative and really fun to see some of these companies that, were friends with the owners, and it was great to watch. And I almost felt like we were so far out of our league, because a number of them, this is their full-time thing. They put all their money into this, and, we don't have that luxury. I have a full-time job. So as much time as this is my second full-time job, but it was really great to watch them and kind of learn from that pitch slam. I almost felt like we were out of our league.
Yeah. Right. Well, you're never out of your league. You only learn as you go, right?
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur, number one, kudos, hats off to you. It's such a huge thing. I don't have the stomach to be a CEO or a founder of something. I'm just, it's just not built into my DNA. So I'm always in awe of everybody that can take that step and get there. So congratulations on that. What I like to do is mentor people and try and help them find the best possible solutions out there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's the one thing why I guess I brought up Naturally Boulder is because that's such a connected market, right? We all do manufacturing. We know where we can send somebody. Maybe somebody at Hope Hummus can help you make a cheese dip off their line somehow, something like that. I'm very good friends with the CEO over there. Maybe that's call Dwayne and say, hey, can you run a different tub, of a vegan product versus hummus? There's options out there that I think can get you there. I think that, another thing to consider is, do you want to be in the e-com business, or do you have the stomach for retail? And that's another thing that, I would say, figure out what path you want to go down. I think if you're doing some sales on e-com, where's it coming from? How are you reaching those people, and how do you grow that? And if this is your second job, it's a little bit more difficult to find that time and focus. And so I understand that as well.
Mm-hmm.
May I interject something in here? Being an entrepreneur, one of those people you don't have the stomach to be. And Jamie and I will often ask this question: is part of what you really have to determine at this stage is, do you want this to be a lifestyle business, or do you really want to grow this? And what are you willing to give up to make that happen? And that's either give up in terms of your personal income, or give up in terms of your ownership of the company, so
Right.
that you can get the money, so that you actually can focus your time on this.
Right.
And those are not questions that, the answers to those questions are not necessarily anything that anyone here can help you with.
Right.
They're things you really have to soul search and decide at this stage in your life, are you ready to take that next level of commitment? which will be painful. It can be very fruitful and wonderful and all of the good things that, which is why, people like me or Jamie or Wendy, who stepped off on her own, right? We do this. But there are realities, right? There are financial realities that you have, et cetera. So, those are some of the things to think about. Can you expand a little bit to grow the business and make it more, generate more revenue, or do you really get investment and take it up to that next level? So this can be your full-time job.
Yeah, I think but yeah, that's a tough question because, it was my full-time job for a little bit and then I had to go back and keep working. But I think part of me, I love making these products and coming up with these recipes and designing all the branding. I work for a marketing firm, so we do all of our marketing. So, that aspect of it, I love. What I don't love is going into stores and selling it and, convincing someone to buy it. It's just not my thing. Obviously, when we're at, trade shows and stuff, I love it. But I would be very open to giving up percentage of the company to someone who knows what they're doing, has time to go in and really sell this and make it a big thing that's successful. I wouldn't want to give up too much, but I'm not opposed to that at all.
Yeah, I don't think you have to give too much up to get somebody to sell. We recently did that. My partner and I recently did that. Totally different industry, but we did give up some revenue. And it was the best thing we ever did because we're less stressed.
Right.
And we're making way more progress because it wasn't our skill set. I'm
Right.
connected to the startup community, not the big enterprises that my company sells to. However, if you have your chicken and the egg, so if you really want to grow it, at some point, you're going to have to get over this hurdle of manufacturing to get into retail, and that is a forward investment. And you will give up more for the kind of money I think that Wendy was really talking about. So that's the entrepreneurial side of it, not the specific issue to where you're going, but that is a question that you and AJ will really have to look at and see, do you want to live kind of in this limbo quasi lifestyle land, or do you really want to push forward and embrace all the horror and all of the wonderful things that entails?
Yeah.
Francesca, I have a question for you. The first time that we spoke, your question was whether you should purchase all of your own manufacturing equipment or co-pack. And it doesn't appear that you still have that question. It looks like you've resolved that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few big popcorn companies that were selling their used equipment, and the price is just insane. It's just insane. And at the end of the day, I don't know how to use that equipment. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So it seems like it would be kind of a waste of time for me to put all that money into that and then have no idea how to run it.
So, yeah, those are all, really good points. I mean, the benefit would be you could do a small run, right? But you've now are in operations, certifications, you've just opened up a Pandora's box in a bigger way.
Yeah.
Especially in COVID right now, I can't tell you how many manufacturing companies, that it's like, oh, we got an outbreak, we're out, right? So that's been a challenge. And I think, pick your lane, is popcorn where you really want to be in business? And I say this as, think about when I worked at Earth Balance, right? We were a vegan buttery spread company for a long time before we finally decided to go vertical and take ourselves out of a dairy case, and go into the grocery shelf and really start to bring that vegan product to life.
Right.
you know, so that's where I kind of look at cheese, and I'm sure it's delicious, and popcorn, you know, and who are you competing against, and where can you, like I said, that architecture of pricing is critical.
Mhm.
You know, bag of popcorn today, you're going to probably pay somewhere between $3.99 and $5.99 a bag.
Mhm.
So, but with manufacturing and with more sales also brings down your margin, and
Right.
you know, you eventually get there, right?
Right.
Um, so, you know, and things are kind of crazy expensive right now anyways, all over the place. So, you know, you just got to be able to sell why you deserve to have the utmost premium, you know, pricing out there.
Yeah. I think why we think that it's so different from what is there is because of the added protein that we put in everything, other than queso, so it's in our popcorn. But to us, that is our, big thing that differentiates us from that, and flavor. It differentiates us from other companies. And I think when we started, we kind of saw ourselves in between a popcorn snack and a protein bar, right? Because there's so much of that, and I know from experience there's not a lot of snacks out there with very high protein that are vegan and you can just kind of eat quickly when you're out doing stuff. But I think starting in this market is just kind of where we happen to land. I would like to expand to protein bars, to protein powders, to really everything. I did some test batching with, protein cookies and stuff like that. Again, it's just the cost of trying something new with packaging and manufacturing when we're still trying to get our original stuff off the ground. It just didn't make sense for us to keep going down that road yet. But eventually I would like to be in multiple aspects of the grocery store.
So you're talking about protein, and
Mhm.
I'm looking at your packaging, and I don't see anything about protein.
I know it's not a
You're vegan, you know, if veg is really important to you, um, you know, selling vegan food for so many years, you know, you kind of you get your groupies behind you, and
Mhm.
they're always going to be there. They're always going to follow you. They're always going to eat with you. But to bring in more into the group, I mean, as we know, you know, we talk about gluten free, or we're vegan, or we're vegetarian, or we're paleo, we're keto, you know, we're hitting all of those consumers out there. And how are you talking to them? I mean, if I look at new foods, I'm like, okay, it's vegan, it's soy free, gluten free, it's hitting part of my allergens, which is great.
Mhm.
Um, but if protein's an important part to you, like, you know, talking about nutritional needs and how did you get here,
Yeah.
there, got to put that, figure out how to get that on your packaging as well.
I think the only reason we haven't done that is because the nutritional labeling is so expensive. So my concern with that was, well, if I put has a shit ton of protein on the packaging, everyone's going to be like, well, how much? And I can't really answer that question for them. I can, but not in a certified way, right? Like we have the information. It's just not on our packaging.
Right, but you are including, is it all pea protein? Is that what you're using?
Mhm.
Yeah, but you could say includes pea protein, right?
Okay.
So the thing that really struck me as you were talking about that is, while I think that both Wendy, as she mentioned up front, has some, we have two Wendy's. um, that Wendy Bowling mentioned she may have somebody that can help on the investment side. And Wendy certainly knows some people in this space.
Mhm.
Given your background and given yours and AJ's background combined, right? And given your interest in marketing, there may be some professional vegan athletes or organizations that are supporting them that would be very interested in what you're doing, right? Where you could get some additional backing or some crossover funding until you can get to where you really need to be.
Okay.
Because protein becomes a really important part of a vegan athlete's, right, nutrition. Finding that protein is huge for them.
Yeah.
But also having those names ends up being a really great marketing tool,
Okay.
right, to gain adoption. So, try to think a little creatively about how you might do a better job of marketing that, and maybe use that to as leverage to get some funding uh, until you can get kind of that big level of support that you're looking
Okay.
for.
Well, and
Okay.
even if you came out of the professional side of, that side of the business, when we launched Udi's Bread, it was so different that we had ambassadors that were, crazy for us. We had people doing free demos for us because they loved Udi's Bread.
Mhm.
We had 1.5 million Facebook friends. And to give you context to that, Philadelphia cream cheese has about 600.
Wow.
So, that's how Udi's kind of got its groove going. So if you can create ambassadors and get with your ski buddy friends and, say, I'm going to ship you free bags, man, just talk about this. But the other part to that is, you've got to have it in a ski store up in Breckenridge or something, right?
Right.
Where somebody can go find it and buy it.
Right.
Back in the day, we used to do, demos up on the ski hill. We had Evil Burrito. We bring the truck up there and just give out little mini burritos. So, to Liz's point, find your ambassadors, find the people that, just drink your Kool-Aid all day long and, have them fall in love with you and your product. And, that'll take you X far.
Okay.
Right. I mean, you may be able to raise $500,000 from some of the contacts you never thought about
Right.
before you get what I'll call the institutional investment to really, take you further.
Right. Okay.
And make that 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. And, call like you're doing tonight, call every person that you can think of that can help you write a business plan that's going to, get you from point A to point B to point C, and really sit down and think, where do you want to be and how are you going to get there?
Okay.
Yeah. Are there other thoughts with suggestions or questions? Please, everybody jump in.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick. So, two things, Francesca. I just wanted to say I think we have a lot in common, you and I. I am an entrepreneur too. I launched a product and we just have a lot in common. I competed in snowboarding. I was like a USASA and Telluride. Like I went up the chairlift with Sean White. Like I can't. He was like 11 years old. He was just doing that. He was 11. Like 11. Anyway, and I went to see you, and when I was in my 20s. I'm 38 now, so I'm guessing I'm like maybe a little older, but not by much. So when I was in my 20s, I was at CU, and I had a really good network of friends that were so loving, and I loved them. But they were snowboarders, skiers, they were growers, they were partiers. That's the group that they were, and they were great. So I wanted to just bring up one thing. If you want to ask this group one question, I just want to invite you to do so. If it's not relevant, don't do it. And that is, if I were sitting in a living room and I were you and I had this product and I was with some of the people around me that were in that group, the first thing they would say to me, and I can hear them now, they'd say, why don't you just make edibles? That's what they would say. But I'm serious. There's a big business here in Colorado for that. So if you're amongst some incredibly talented, so much experience in this room tonight. If I had any questions, I would ask them. So if you have any questions about that, I don't know. I haven't presented to anyone in this group. I don't know. I was just thinking, if you had any questions, or people are coming to you in your friend group and saying, why are you doing that? Why don't you just do edibles? Ask them. If not, shut me down. And I just want to let you know one thing: have confidence. I have like no confidence. I mean, some days I do, some days I don't. But you got to look in the mirror and say, I am awesome. And if I have to take a little sales training to learn how to sell, by the way, it's really easy. Once you get a little training,
Yeah.
you know, be confident, because I think you need a little confidence, and then you're going to be awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop now.
Well, thanks. That's awesome that you used to do that stuff. We do have a lot in common for sure. I guess a question that I do have would be, let's say I do go for $1 million in investment. I mean, I've been doing research, and obviously there's the crowdfunding sites, but there's also the angel investing sites. Do you guys suggest investing with someone who knows about this stuff and is going to give me their money and their knowledge, and I give them a piece of my company, or doing like a crowdfunding and I just get a lot of money and don't give them anything, essentially?
Get the knowledge.
Go get the smart money.
Yeah, if you can get mentorship, if you can get somebody who's actually invested helping you, that's gonna change your game, because they'll have a little skin in the game and they'll connect you to things. I wanted to mention, it's kind of looking at your packaging and just echoing a bit more of what Wendy said. Being honest, when you were describing the product, I'm like, wow, that sounds great. I'd love to try that. That sounds, I'm always looking for more protein. I'm gluten-free. I'm not specifically vegan, but I actually just don't like meat. I just don't like it a lot. And if I saw this for sale, I probably wouldn't buy it, but if it had like high protein written on it, then I would. Right? Because I'm always looking for more and more protein. I'll sit there and look at all the protein bars and look for the one that has the most, because I look at it as a value thing. Like, I'm willing to pay more money for something that has more protein. And the thing that I wonder, and I know you said it's expensive to get that nutrition information, but you might be able to do a back of the envelope calculation as you're trying to raise money and stuff, and say like, look, this is how this would change our market and our positioning if we could just get this on our labeling, because I would buy it. And I think there are a lot of people like me who, because I often eat things that aren't as tasty because they have more protein.
Right.
And I would rather pick the tasty thing because it has more protein.
Yeah, and there is a market here. So my niece is a vegan and she's a young adult now, but growing up, my sister-in-law's biggest concern was whether or not she was getting enough protein, right? And so mothers of vegan children are always looking out for that. And it is a very strong selling point. And, kids love to eat snacks. You wish they would eat more stuff, right? But there's only so much tofu you can eat. Right. And then some adults can't even handle the estrogen associated with tofu. So there is a value proposition here, and actually a strong one, if you can market the crap out of it.
Okay.
And market it in a way that, is for the person that's buying, or the person that's asking the buyer, right? Please get me that new high protein stuff, right? Their popcorn is the best, right? They may not remember exactly your name, but they'll know, you're the high protein person. And it's a very memorable logo, right? You could describe that to somebody. So
do you guys think that the best thing to do right now, in the meantime, in the interim of getting, these big investments and big co-mans, should I kind of focus a little bit on redoing the packaging and adding all this stuff? Is that okay?
Francesca,
I would agree.
In town, there's, I've got a couple friends that, are R&D that would probably be happy to get you the correct nutritionals, that you can pay them a one-time fee on that. Derek Spores here in Boulder at Spork and Label, Claire Burnett. I'm just thinking of a couple of people right now, but I'm sure you could do that one-time hire. Say I need a nutritional labeling done on these products, and give them the recipe. and actually, just have them double check what you're doing.
Okay.
Time while you're at it would be one thing on there, but yeah, I think, tell me why I'm buying this and eating it.
Okay.
And it definitely can help on your online sales, as you are waiting to close maybe some of these big deals, and you can still support, direct to consumer.
Yeah.
Having that information there is great. And then it makes it easier for you to use your sports contacts, your athletes contacts, to promote that it's a high protein, that they're high protein products.
Okay. Okay.
Wendy,
I
would
see.
you have like a ballpark on how much the nutrition determination would cost?
I mean, it's probably a $500 or something, to have somebody run through that. It's probably not a lot of money.
Okay.
There's there's an R&D group that there's probably 4 or 5 people working down there in Boulder that are just doing projects.
Okay.
Um,
So another thing that we kind of ran into is, so we make it all on like the literal like movie theater popcorn machines. We don't have a huge air popper. So right now to pop it, we use canola oil, which we know really affects the nutrition facts. So another reason that we haven't wanted to put them on there is because the calorie count is higher than what we would want because of that oil that we have to pop them in. So
and
it's,
natural grocers will be like, nope.
right. So it's kind of like, I want to stop using that oil, but we can't until we have someone that has a big air popper that can do that. And so I don't know, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
You go canola or I mean, can you go coconut and or avocado?
We've tried. The avocado is too high of a smoke point, so it burns, and then the coconut just has too strong of a flavor. Same with olive oil.
Yeah, yeah. And you got a lot of coconut out there already anyways.
Mhm.
What about grapeseed? Does grapeseed have the same impact as canola?
I don't know.
Isn't grapeseed, hold on, I thought grapeseed was canola, but I have no idea. I'm not a food
No,
person. But I
grapeseed
wanted to say
Canola.
that personally, the protein's a bigger factor. So if it was high calorie,
Okay.
I would still be interested
Okay.
in it. Right. I like the thing that would make me pay for it as a snack is the protein, and the calories I would, that would be fine for me. Now, what kind of audience am I representing here? Am I a minority or not? I don't know. There's probably a way to find that out.
Okay. Yeah.
Francesca, Francesca. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'd like to ask again about something Liz brought up, sort of on our shared brain behalf, because we do think alike. But you're asking a lot of good questions, and a lot of the things I'm hearing you say are sticking points are financial. And the reason I think you're in this catch-22 where you don't know whether to go this way or that way is because I still haven't heard you say clearly that you know where you want to go. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So are you trying to build a cool lifestyle business where you can hang out at festivals and hang out with snowboarders and, have a neat way to make a little extra money? Or do you want to get rich? Or do you want to do this for a year and sell it so you get rich that way? Because those are all define a different strategy for you. And so if you don't know what you're after, it's really hard to know which direction to go next.
Definitely not a lifestyle. I absolutely want to make money off of this. I want to be in every big Whole Foods chain store, whatever, everywhere.
Do you want to do it for the next 30 years, or do you want to do it long enough to go, thank you very much, and I'm out?
I think I want to grow it to the point where, I can have employees and they can do everything for me. And if I say, hey, I want to develop X, Y, and Z, I have a team that can go and do that. But the aspect that I love is the starting of the company and the branding and the marketing and creating these products and figuring out where they can belong in the grocery store. So I think obviously right now I'm super hands-on. In the next 5 years, I'd like to be 50% less hands-on.
Okay, but you don't want to necessarily sell it in 5 years. You just want to change your role.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I paint a weird alternative universe just to, I kind of wish somebody would have done this for me in my first business. So let's say that new food does really well, you get attention and somebody wants to buy it from you, like some bigger brand name that maybe we've heard of or not heard of, and they buy it from you and you make some money and you're out of the picture, and then you go and you join some more other organizations. So it's not the one that you founded, but you're still using all this expertise that you have to help create new products and lines, but you're doing it within another new company. So you've taken that experience, you've profited, you've moved on. I personally never had the picture of like, I can take this experience and then go work for someone else who's a better business person than me and grow even further. Is that something that you could stomach, to basically sell your baby and raise a new baby?
I would not be opposed to selling it. I would have a number of caveats, obviously, in that sale. But yeah, I would love to be able to kind of let this run on its own, depending on how much involvement I have, and go start a new company. So fully giving control to someone else, I don't see me ever doing that. But letting someone else run it and do all the stuff I don't want to do for a portion of the company, or whatever, I see that happening for sure.
It's great. It's good to just know that.
Yeah.
I had a weird situation where I got hired by a VC funded company to basically do exactly what my startup was doing. I only had to do the part that I had the most expertise in. Right. Now that fell apart later down the line for other reasons. But the point is, all of the expertise I developed while running my startup and losing tons of money was really valuable. And I got a real paycheck and equity and stuff.
I think my big thing is working for someone else. That is something that I do not see myself doing. So, right now I do, obviously, but at a very high level. So it's almost like I don't work for anyone, which is really nice. But in the long run, I definitely do not see myself working for anyone.
That's
So
super important to know.
Starting a number of other companies, yes, absolutely. Sharing the ownership of those, yes. But being underneath someone, no. Yeah.
So Liz,
So
you're muted.
Wendy A., I know that you have a time commitment, and I'm just wondering if you have anything else you wanted to
I got one
add
more
for Francesca.
I would say this, as you think about your company and products and ingredients, one of the most important things today in the grocery business is looking at innovation and looking for white space.
Okay.
So you mentioned bars. I've sold bars many a times. It's so hard. It's so competitive, so expensive. And at the end of the day, it's still kind and it's still, kill Cliff. It's still Cliff Bar and things like that. There's some that sneak out, but think really try and continue to think outside of the box. I take all of the manufacturing companies I work. I'm so sorry that I'm working with today, and we're constantly scouring the shelves for white space. Innovation is king and queen and everything else. So those are some things. you have my contact. Please feel free anytime that if you're digging around, need anybody. I kind of know a lot of people in the industry, so I'm happy to help.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate
the
it.
best. It looks delicious. I'm gonna have to go to Denver now and go buy some bags of popcorn and some of your cheese, and love to try it. And I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
All right, ladies. Well, it was a pleasure to get to sit on your forum for the first time. And anytime you're looking for some insight, think of me.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank
Thanks for
you so
sharing your
much.
puppy with us.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wendy. It was
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
Have a good night.
Francesca, I didn't mean to. I was up in Keystone and I met I think he was the CEO of Hope Foods, but it was a long time ago. I think they were just getting started because they were like handing me these little coupons or like freebies that I could, and they were really cool guys. There was like a pack of them coming into the ink spot up at Keith. And
Oh yeah.
I think my 7-year-old at the time, I think she was like 1 or something. So we were like taking runs. We're like, because I mean, what are you going to do when you have a 1-year-old? And so we were
Right.
just all camped out at the ink spot. I don't know if you know, it's like the coffee shop in Keystone, but it
Right.
has like couches. So, and then I just started talking to him because, you know, when you have a 1-year-old, everyone talks to you. And he's like, we make hummus. And he was telling me these stories of like these catastrophic problems they were having making the hummus, and there was like spills and there was always, but they were really like regular down to, I would have never, I mean, they were super cool. And I see you in the same way. I think you can
Oh, thanks.
like huge things. Yeah.
Thanks. I
They
appreciate
had like a lazy or like a cool laid back attitude.
it.
All right, so other folks, do you have suggestions? Wendy B, can you again repeat the person? Is it Alicia?
Alicia,
Rob?
Rob, and also I can't remember the name of the Lily's Candy lady.
Oh, Lily's Chocolate.
Lily's Chocolate. And she's been on a podcast too, and dadgummit, I am just totally Jane, isn't it Jane Miller? Yes. Jane Miller. If you wanted, I could also do an intro to her.
Yeah, she actually started a bunch of stuff. She was at Rudy's
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
she did a
yeah.
yogurt company and she did
Big,
she
big
was
one.
involved with jackfruit. Emily helped her launch her book.
But
My daughter-
I really like the fact that she's done Lily's Chocolate, because it was from helping and taking this family-owned idea for this chocolate that kids could have that were diabetic, and she has, man, that thing has just taken off.
Oh yeah, I have bars in my,
Yeah,
you know, it's the lack of sugar for me, so.
right.
Okay.
So I think, did I email you my here? I
Yeah,
gave
just
you
put
my,
it in the chat. So people, if you want to connect, make sure your email's in the chat and we'll capture that for Francesca.
great.
So other questions, Francesca, other questions for us?
Not that I can think of right now. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to think of 15 in an hour or so, but no, this has been super helpful, and I really appreciate all of your insights and you guys listening to me and my lack of expertise.
Oh, it's great. It looks like you have an amazing product. You just got to nail down the business side.
Yeah.
I did want to ask, so what retail locations are you in right now? Actually, is it based on the city or the specific store?
So we sell, they're all pretty small, like there's no big chain that we're in. But we pretty much just like research grocery stores that carry vegan products, or
Right.
people find us through social media and reach out to us to be in their store. So probably our biggest seller is called Nooch Vegan Market. It's a 100% vegan grocery store in Denver. And then we sell in a handful of breweries. We sell in a number of actually vegan restaurants, which is surprising.
Ah,
Yeah. So it's really kind of all over the board. We sold in God, what's the grocery store? Alfalfa's, I think, in Boulder.
oh, right, yes.
So we sold there for a while, and it did great. And then the guy who got us in there, the grocery buyer, I guess got let go, and we were never able to get back in.
Oh, no, okay.
So yeah, but it's really just like a hodgepodge of places.
Right, and what about and natural grocers, or not there yet?
Nope.
Is their inventory requirement too high for you as well?
I mean, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think, that's why Wendy was mentioning a broker further down the road will help you get into those places.
Yeah.
But, when I was with Gen Zen, I worked to get into Whole Foods and natural grocers. So, I know a lot of their requirements, but you can certainly do that on your own. But, down the road, a broker will really help.
Yeah. Yeah. I have one of my close friends owns Best One Yet. It's a vegan ice cream company. And she just got into I think it was 10 Whole Foods in the Denver area. And, I talked to her about how she did it and advice and stuff like that. And she said that it took her, she started talking to them and essentially got in March and wasn't actually in stores until like 6 months later.
That's actually
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah.
I
Pretty
know
good.
you think it's really long, but that isn't bad, right? And so you've got your challenges if you are starting that process,
Yeah.
right? You can then time your manufacturing around it. So because it will take you a while to ramp that up, but you don't want to ramp it up until you know you have a contract. But it's kind of hard to get a contract unless you can commit, right? So
Yeah.
that's your chicken and egg, but
Yeah.
use that long sales cycle to help you raise that money and find the person you want to help you manufacture.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, yeah, there's probably a good reason it takes a long time, because if you got it tomorrow, you would not be able to fulfill your order.
No, definitely not.
So don't look at that as bad.
Okay. Okay.
So now this is exciting, and you sell online too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I have to try this queso now. So, but yes, there is a market, and for someone like me who is coming off of meat and eating very little plant-based meat, the biggest challenge is getting enough protein, right, and getting enough satiation. And from a product's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I find is what makes these meals are I'm going to call them the hearty sauces, the binding sauces, right? You're thinking in terms of snacks,
Right.
right? But as a prospective full-on vegan, and I remember what Wendy B said about doing her keto is it's all about the sauces, right? So I take hummus and I use hummus for lots of things, right? Because of the substance, right? The consistency of it. The same is true for queso. And so it does provide a robustness and a satiation
Yeah.
factor, right? That you got to get as a vegan, right? And if you don't want to necessarily do really heavy oil-based cheeses,
Mm-hmm.
Bean-based things and other things, really, I mean, your ingredients sound amazing, right? So
Yeah.
there's a market for your new products. It is just kind of getting over this next hump.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So
I have a quick question. Do you have any idea, like if you have to guess, like back of the envelope, like what do you think the protein content is in your 6-ounce bags?
In the 6-ounce bag for Nooch, it's about 24 grams.
that's
Wow.
Yeah, so it's high and it's low. It's high because the nutritional yeast has a lot of protein as well. But in the let's say like in the churro or the curry, the big 6-ounce bag has about 15.
That's still really good.
Yeah.
That's now so the thing is now that you said that, like I'm looking at the website, I'm like, do I want to buy that? Now that you've told me how much protein's in it, I'm like, yeah, I think I do, right? So I think you've got to figure out how to get that protein number on there. I think that will really dramatically change your sales.
Okay.
I'm not put off by high calorie. I don't
Yeah,
know.
me neither.
Liz,
I would do
Yeah.
it.
A lot of
high
vegans.
calorie.
Yeah, a lot of vegans are not. I mean, I struggle to get enough calories. I mean, that's part of why I'm still eating meat,
Right.
is getting enough protein and getting enough calories, especially if you're active.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you guys. I appreciate it so much. This is all so helpful.
Sure. I will make a point of trying to get you in touch with Pamela at Outrageous Baking, just because she's been literally in your shoes and was cooking in her kitchen, right? And had to expand. And so she can tell you very directly how much that cost, you know, in terms of money or equity and all of those things. So you have a really good specific data set to help you make your decision.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
So I don't, you know, I hope everything's okay. I'm not quite sure what happened. So I will check in with her and get you guys connected.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. So does everybody have the contact information they need? So if they want to follow up or reach out to people, make sure that's in the chat. And then Francesca, you can get with Julie or me, and if somebody doesn't have that, and we'll get you in contact with them. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
all right, thanks.
great.
All right, we're gonna go
Thank
try the
you.
products
Good
now.
luck. Yes.